I was in the grocery store once in Spain, and this one girl walked by me with her friend, and they were speaking in English, and right away, aside from her accent, they were speaking American English. I could tell she was from the United States. But listening to her speak there, I could tell there was something more to her accent. Like there was something more in there, in the way she was speaking and the American accent. So I had to inquire more about that. So we were waiting in the line at the grocery store, and I asked her, "Where are you from?" And she said she was from the United States, of course. I said, "Okay, like where in the United States are you from?" And she said she was from Minnesota. Ah, okay, the same state where I'm from in the United States. It's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like I heard that. And it turns out we actually grew up within an hour of one another in Minnesota, in the United States. And this one baffled me. Like I was able to hear that just in the few seconds of listening to her speak. It's like, oh, there it is. And it hit very close to home. It was very, very detailed, very intricate. There was something within that subtlety that was just magical. And it wasn't just about the way she was speaking, but it was her choice of words. It was her accent. It was even the way she was moving, her facial expressions. It was the most familiar for me. And it's that intricacy that leaves a sense of awe. It's the things that are highly detailed, subtle. And there was something magical in that. There was something awe-inspiring in that subtlety. And this is the sublime, right? This is the sublime. This is the awe. This is that other element. And if you've ever been abroad, if you've ever been to another country where it's not your native language, like for me, coming from the United States, I can pick out an English speaker in a crowd, like, there it is. There it is. It's like I didn't even need to hear a word. It was just the tone of their voice. It was the wisp of their lips. That's all I needed to hear. I'm like, oh yeah, there's American English. That's home. I know that. Even a singular syllable, it was instant. I just picked up on it. It was that subtlety that always just left me fascinated with that. Like, wow, goodness, I didn't realize how deep that gets. It is this acuity to the max in recognizing your own language, your own people. And I've had some really shocking experiences with language cues in general. Language, emotional intelligence. And this same acuity, right? This same subliminal, sublime, is embedded in creativity as well. If we watch sports, there's that same sense of awe with certain players. There's that same sense of awe with certain players, like they're just a magician out there. They're an artist. And it's a very select few players. For an example, with the football player Messi, he's got this aura around him that is just so clear, so out there, and everyone knows it. And there's other professional football players on the field with him. Like, it's already the top 1% in the world. And yet there's these select few who have this this aura, this subtlety about them. So it's one of those things where what separates them? What separates them from the other professional players on the field, right? That's an interesting one. And if you think about music as well, there are certain songs that speak to you. There are certain songs that speak to you, that speak to me. And it's usually in those fine little details. There's a certain part even within that song that really just hooks you. Like those little details just come together so nicely. And that part grabs you. And it's all the little details that create the whole piece there, the whole mosaic. And the thing about this, right, the thing about that subtlety and that creativity is that it isn't confined to like great inventors and musicians and artists and great sports players or fill in the blank, whatever it is. Like we all have this within us as well. And there's no agenda to it, right? It feels less of looking for it within yourself and recognizing it as a natural occurrence. There's a difference there between needing to be creative and do all these different things and express yourself in different ways. And there's a natural side of it, just a happening side of it. And I've had this experience when I'm writing sometimes, which I've spoke about with other people, and they've said the same thing as well. With writing specifically, that other element comes into play, where sometimes I'll be writing there, right, typing out the words, and it just comes together so perfectly. It's like, it's this nice play that's going on that I'm experiencing in front of me. And it leaves me with that sense of awe once again, like, wow, where did those words come from? Right? They all went together so perfectly. So really the question becomes, like, where is the sublime? Where is that channel of hyper creativity for you? I think that's an interesting one to ask, because you'll find that it is in those natural occurrences, right? It is in those activities, looking back on yourself and reflecting on your life, that you just did those activities naturally, right? There was no agenda. It's like you're pulled towards those activities. Naturally, you want to do those things that fill that creative void, right? So if you have any resonance with what I'm saying here, I'd be thrilled to hear more about your experience in the comments down below. I will also leave a link to my Instagram and Facebook as well, if you'd like to have a conversation in the DMs. But regardless, appreciate you listening to this one. Bye-bye now.